Sister tried to contest Mom's will. What was ironclad and lawyer's fees came out of her share, not mine. My sister's heel slips off the polished tile for half a second as she lunges toward the conference table, and the sound of it, rubber scraping, a sharp little skid, cuts through the hush in the room like a scream. She reaches for the folder in front of the attorney like she's going to snatch it out of his hands. Like if she can touch the paper first, she can rewrite what's on it. "That's not real," she says, voice high and thin, eyes wet but not soft. She wouldn't do that. She wouldn't. The attorney, Mr. Patel, doesn't flinch. He just places his palm on the folder and gently slides it closer to his side of the table, like he's moving a hot pan away from a child. My throat is tight. I can taste metal. I'm sitting perfectly still because I'm terrified that if I move even an inch, I'll either start shaking or I'll stand up and do something I can't take back. The air smells faintly like copier toner and lemon cleaner. I can hear the hum of the building's HVAC like it's the loudest thing in the world. "Claire," Mr. Patel says, calm, measured. "You can absolutely retain counsel. But this document is filed, witnessed, notarized, and stop talking to me like I'm stupid." My sister snaps, and her nails tap hard against the table as if she's counting down to a fight. It was a Tuesday night, 3 weeks after Mom died, when I got the call to come into Mr. Patel's office for the will reading, and I remember staring at the notification on my phone like it was a prank. I'd been sleeping in 2-hour chunks since the funeral, waking up with my jaw clenched, wandering our house like I'd misplaced something essential and couldn't remember what it was. The grief was heavy, but it wasn't clean. It was mixed with logistics, condolence texts, forms, flower arrangements wilting in vases, people offering to help. In the same breath, they asked if Mom had left anything. My sister Claire had been texting me a lot those weeks, short, barbed messages framed as concern. "How are you holding up?" followed immediately by, "So, when do we find out about the house?" I've been ignoring most of them because every time I answered, it turned into an interrogation. "Did Mom change anything? Did she say anything to you? You were with her the most." Like I was a witness to a crime, and she was trying to catch me in a lie. Mom had been sick for a long time. Not the kind of sick where it's sudden and tragic, and everyone shows up with casseroles and tears. The slow kind. The kind where the illness becomes a second job. The kind where people stop checking in after the first few months because it's uncomfortable and there's no dramatic update to share. She had ovarian cancer that came back after remission and then spread, and the second time around the treatments were more brutal and less hopeful. I moved in with her for the last year. Not because I'm some saint. Because I couldn't stomach the idea of her sitting alone in that house, turning the TV volume up to fill the emptiness, pretending she wasn't scared. I work remotely, and my partner, Mark, understood in a way that still makes me love him more when I think about it. We rearranged our whole life so I could be there. I learned how to manage medication schedules, insurance calls, side effects, the weird food she could tolerate. I learned how to change sheets without making her feel embarrassed. I learned how to smile and talk about normal things while my brain kept a quiet tally of new bruises, new swelling, new pain. Claire did not move in. Claire did not rearrange anything. She visited on holidays. Sometimes, when it was convenient. She'd show up with a bouquet from the grocery store and a bright voice and take selfies with Mom in the living room, then leave after 2 hours because she had an early morning. She lived 40 minutes away. 40. Not across the country. Not in a different time zone. 40 minutes. And she acted like she was crossing an ocean. I try not to judge her for it at first. People handle illness differently. People get scared. People freeze. I told myself 1,000 excuses because it hurt less than admitting the truth, that when things get hard, Claire disappears. And then she comes back when the hard part is over and expects to be treated like she was there the whole time. Mom knew it too. She didn't rant about it. She wasn't that kind of mother. She would make small comments, little observations that landed like stones in my stomach. "Claire gets uncomfortable," she'd say, watching my sister fidget in a chair when the nurse came in. Or, "She's busy. She has her own life." But then, late at night when the pain meds wore off and she couldn't sleep, she would say, softly, "I thought she'd be here more." Like she was talking to herself. Like she was trying to understand her own child. A month before Mom died, She asked me to drive her to Mr. Patel's office. She said it casually, like it was just another appointment. I need to update my paperwork, she said. I want everything tidy. I remember gripping the steering wheel too tightly because the word tidy felt like she was trying to make death into a filing cabinet. I sat in the waiting room while she met with him. When she came out, she looked exhausted but strangely lighter, like she'd said something she needed to say. On the way home, she stared out the window for a long time. Then she said, "You know I love you both." "I know," I said, "because what else do you say? And you know being a mother doesn't mean being blind," she added, still looking out the window. "Ich glänzte her." "Mom." She held up a hand, stopping me. Her hand was thin, papery. "I'm not punishing anyone," she said. "I'm just being honest with my life." I didn't push. I didn't ask details. Part of me didn't want to know because it felt like stepping into something sacred. Another part of me already knew, deep down, that she was going to do something Claire wouldn't like. And I knew Claire wouldn't just be hurt. She would be furious. She'd treat it like betrayal. When Mom passed, Claire arrived at the hospital at the very end. I'd been there for 12 hours, watching Mom's chest rise and fall in shallow, uneven pulls, listening to the machine beeps slow down like they were getting tired too. Claire swept in smelling like perfume and panic, crying loudly, grabbing Mom's hand like she'd been holding it all along. She looked at me like I was furniture, like I'd already served my purpose. Later, at the funeral, she clung to the front pew and sobbed into a tissue and told anyone who would listen, we were so close. People nodded and patted her shoulder because grief makes people polite. I stood to the side and let her have her performance because I didn't have the energy to fight over who loved our mother more. Then the questions started. 2 days after the funeral, Claire came to the house while I was sorting through condolence cards at the kitchen table. She walked in like she owned the place, opened cabinets, peeked into closets. "So," she said, voice bright, "what are we doing with everything?" "Everything?" I repeated because my brain couldn't process that she was already in inventory mode. She gestured around. The furniture, the jewelry, the house. She said it like she was discussing a garage sale. I felt my chest tighten. "We're not doing anything right now," I said. "We just buried Mom." Claire's mouth tightened. "I'm being practical," she said. "Someone has to." I almost laughed. "Someone has to," she says, as if I hadn't been practical for the last year in ways that left me hollow. "Mr. Patel will contact us," I said. "Mom's attorney would do things properly." Claire's eyes narrowed. "You've been talking to her attorney?" she asked, like I'd been secretly negotiating a deal behind her back. "He's her attorney," I said. "He helped her with paperwork. He's contacting both of us." Claire leaned in slightly, lowering her voice. "She didn't change anything, did she?" she asked. "Because she wouldn't. That would be insane." "Esther de her." "I don't know," I said truthfully. "And even if I did, I wouldn't talk about it like this." Claire rolled her eyes like I was being dramatic. "Don't be weird," she snapped. "We're sisters." We are sisters, I thought. And yet she could stand in our dead mother's kitchen and treat her life like a prize. So when Mr. Patel's assistant called and scheduled the meeting, I already felt braced. I told Mark I'd probably come home furious or numb. He kissed my forehead and said, "You don't have to absorb her," which sounds simple until you're actually standing across from a person who has been absorbing you your entire life. The meeting itself started politely. Mr. Patel offered condolences. He asked if we needed water. Claire sat with her arms crossed, knee bouncing, eyes darting around the room like she was searching for hidden cameras. I sat with my hands folded in my lap, nails digging lightly into my palms to keep myself present. Mr. Patel explained probate basics, how the will would be filed, how creditors are notified, how the executor handles assets. Then he said the word executor and looked directly at me. "Your mother named you as executor," he said. Claire's head snapped toward me. "What?" she demanded. I felt heat rise in my face. I started, but Mr. Patel lifted a hand. "This is your mother's decision," he said calmly. "It reflects her trust in your ability to administer the estate." Claire laughed sharply, humorless. "Trust," she repeated. "She trusted her?" She jerked her chin at me like I was a stranger. That's a joke. I swallowed. Claire. No. She cut in, eyes bright with anger. Don't Claire me. You've been playing caretaker like some martyr, and now you're cashing in. That's what this is. My stomach flipped. I didn't ask for this, I said, and I meant it. I just took care of Mom. Claire leaned forward, voice rising. Oh my God. You hear yourself? You always do this. You always make yourself the hero. Mr. Patel cleared his throat gently. If we can proceed, he said, and then he opened the folder. He read the key points. How Mom's accounts would be handled, the sale of the house, the distribution of personal property. And then he got to the part Claire had been circling like a shark. The residue of the estate, he said, is to be divided as follows. 60% to Eleanor. My name, spoken out loud, felt like a strange weight. And 40% to Claire. Claire went very still, like her body couldn't decide whether to explode or freeze. Excuse me, she said slowly. Mr. Patel didn't blink. 60/40, he repeated, as outlined. Claire's voice jumped an octave. That's not real, she said. That's no. She wouldn't do that. Mr. Patel kept his tone steady. Your mother revised her will on. He named the date a month before her death, and this will meet all legal requirements. It is in fact real. Claire turned to me like she expected me to confess. You made her do this, she said. My mouth went dry. I didn't, I said. I didn't even know the split. You were with her, Claire hissed. You poisoned her against me. The words hit something deep and ugly in me. Not because they were clever, but because they were familiar. Claire has always had this way of making other people responsible for her consequences. In our childhood, if she forgot her homework, it was because I distracted her. If she got grounded, it was because I told on her. I rarely did. If she didn't get invited somewhere, it was because I was jealous. She carries that same logic into adulthood. If she doesn't get what she wants, it's because someone stole it. Mr. Patel continued reading because he has probably dealt with families like ours before. He explained that Mom also created specific bequests. Her grandmother's ring to me, her wedding photo album to Claire, some furniture to specific people. Claire barely listened. She was staring at the folder like it had personally insulted her. Then Mr. Patel said, Your mother also included a no-contest clause. Claire's eyes narrowed. What's that? She demanded. Mr. Patel's voice stayed smooth. It means if a beneficiary contests the will without probable cause and does not prevail, they forfeit a portion of their inheritance, and certain fees and costs may be charged against their share. Claire scoffed. That sounds illegal, she snapped. It's not, he said. It's a common estate planning tool to prevent harassment litigation. Harassment litigation. The phrase sat heavy because it was exactly what Claire was about to try. Claire pushed her chair back suddenly and stood. Then when we got back to the moment, I can't stop replaying. Her heels skidding, her hand reaching for the folder, her voice shaking with fury. I'm not letting her do this, she said, like Mom was still alive to argue with. Mr. Patel's calm didn't crack. You are free to consult your own attorney, he said again. But I must caution you. Your mother's will is exceptionally well drafted. There are contemporaneous notes. There is a video recording of her signing. There is also a capacity letter from her physician. Claire blinked fast. A video, she repeated, like she couldn't process it. Yes, he said. Your mother requested it. I felt something twist in my chest. Mom had known. She had known Claire would try. She had prepared anyway. Not out of cruelty. Out of clarity. Claire's face flushed. This is unbelievable, she whispered, then louder. This is manipulation. She was sick. She was drugged. Mr. Patel kept his eyes on her. Your mother was lucid, he said. Her physician confirmed capacity. She answered a series of questions on record. She explained her reasoning in her own words. Claire's gaze snapped to me again. And you're just going to take it? She said. You're just going to accept stealing from me? That word. Stealing. Like caregiving was theft. I didn't steal anything, I said, voice trembling now. Mom made a choice. Claire laughed sharp. You always hide behind Mom made a choice, she said. You've been hiding behind Mom your whole life. My hands were shaking under the table now. I could feel blood pulsing in my fingertips. I wanted to scream that I hid behind Mom, because Mom was the only one who ever tried to translate Claire's moods into something survivable. But I didn't. I just sat there and breathed like I was in therapy, because if I let myself explode, Claire would use it as proof that I'm unstable. Claire stormed out of the office. The door shut hard enough to rattle the frosted glass. Mr. Patel exhaled a small, controlled breath. He looked at me and said, "I'm sorry." I stared at the spot where Claire had been standing. "She's going to contest it," I said flatly. Mr. Patel nodded. "It's possible," he said, "but your mother prepared for that outcome." I walked out of that meeting feeling like I'd been hit by a car. Not because of the money, because of what the money represented. A tally. A record. Mom had looked at her life, looked at who showed up, and she'd written it down in legal language. She had turned love into percentages because she was tired and she wanted peace even after she was gone. Claire's contest came fast. Within a week, she'd hired an attorney, some aggressive guy whose website had a lot of phrases like "fighting for what you deserve." She filed a claim alleging undue influence and lack of capacity. She accused me of manipulating Mom. She requested discovery. She sent me a letter through her attorney listing demands. Access to Mom's medical records, access to all communications, access to the house immediately. I remember opening the envelope at my kitchen table, hands shaking and feeling this strange, detached thought. Mom's dead and Claire is still trying to punish me. Mark found me sitting there staring at the letter like it was written in a foreign language. "She did it," I said, voice empty. He read it, jaw tightening. "Okay," he said slowly. "We respond with counsel, not emotion." So I hired my own attorney, not because I wanted a war, but because Claire dragged us into one. We filed the will for probate. We responded. We compiled documentation, the caregiving logs, the appointment calendar, the receipts, the text from Claire that showed her absence, the messages where she'd asked about the estate before Mom was even buried. We didn't have to use all of it, but we had it. My attorney, Denise, told me, "Facts are calmer than feelings," which became my mantra. The process was miserable. Claire demanded depositions. She demanded I account for every penny spent on Mom's care, as if I'd been siphoning money into offshore accounts instead of buying adult diapers and nausea meds. She sent people to the house asking to inventory items. She accused me of hiding jewelry. She asked our extended family if I'd been controlling Mom. She posted vague, dramatic statuses online about betrayal and greed. People I hadn't spoken to in years suddenly had opinions about my character. And the whole time, the no contest clause sat there like a quiet trap she was walking into on purpose. There was one hearing early on where Claire showed up in a blazer like she was going to job interview. Eyes lined perfectly, hair curled, performance ready. She sat across from me in the courtroom waiting area and said, in a low voice, "You think you're going to win because you have Mom's lawyer? That's cute." I stared straight ahead. "It's not a game," I said. She laughed softly. "Everything's a game," she whispered. "You're just too scared to play." In the courtroom, the judge listened politely. Claire's attorney painted a story. Sick mother, manipulative caretaker daughter, sudden will change. It sounded compelling if you didn't know us. Then my attorney spoke and presented the timeline. Mom had been working with Mr. Patel for years, had updated her while previously without drama, had requested a capacity evaluation and video specifically to avoid a contest, had articulated her reasoning clearly. The judge's face didn't change much, but I saw the slight tightening around his eyes when he heard video and physician letter. Those are the details you need when you're being coerced. Those are the details you arrange when you're being careful. Claire's attorney requested access to the video. The judge granted it. We produced it. I watched it once, alone in my living room, because I needed to know what Mom had said. Mom sat in Mr. Patel's office, smaller than I remembered her being, but alert. She looked directly at the camera and said her name, the date, who the president was, what year it was, who her daughters were. She answered every capacity question without hesitation. Then Mr. Patel asked, "Can you explain in your own words why you are distributing your estate this way?" Mom took a breath and said, "Because Eleanor has been taking care of me. Because she has sacrificed time, income, and comfort to make sure I'm not alone." Because Claire loves me, but she hasn't been here. And I want to be fair. Fair. That word made my chest ache. Mom wasn't angry on the video. She wasn't vindictive. She looked sad, like she wished she didn't have to say it out loud. Like she wished her daughter had shown up so the percentages could have been equal. She said, "I'm not trying to hurt anyone. I'm trying to acknowledge reality." When I was done watching, I sat on the couch and cried until my throat hurt. Not because of money, because Mom had died twice. Once in her body, and once in the way her truth was now evidence in a legal fight between her children. Claire's reaction to the video was immediate and explosive. She called me from a blocked number, which I didn't answer, and then she left a voicemail. Sobbing, furious, slurring her words like she'd been drinking. "You made her say that," she cried. "You made her. You're evil." Then her voice snapped into rage. "I'm taking everything from you." My attorney advised me not to respond. "Let her keep talking," Denise said. "She's building her case for you." As the months dragged on, Claire's claims started to crumble. Her attorney filed motions. We responded. The judge ordered mediation. Claire refused any offer that wasn't basically equal shares plus reimbursement for her emotional suffering, which was not a thing. She kept insisting she was owed more because she was the firstborn, she isn't, and because she was closer to Mom, she wasn't, and because Mom wouldn't have done this unless someone influenced her. Mom literally recorded herself explaining it. Meanwhile, the estate was paying for legal defense, standard because the estate needs to defend the will. That money comes out before anyone gets distributions. Every hour Claire's attorney billed, every hour my attorney billed, it was all bleeding into what Mom left behind. I felt sick every time I saw an invoice, like we were burning Mom's life in a bonfire to keep Claire warm. And that's where the no contest clause mattered. Because it wasn't just about punishing Claire. It was about stopping her from dragging the estate through endless litigation without consequence. Eventually, the judge called a hearing specifically about the contest's merit. I sat in court with my hands folded, nails digging crescents into my palms. Claire sat behind her attorney, posture rigid, eyes darting between the judge and me like she was waiting for a moment to pounce. The judge reviewed the evidence, summarized the video, noted the physician letter, the witnesses, the drafting attorney's notes. Then he said, bluntly, "I'm not seeing probable cause for this contest." Claire's face flushed. Because she lied, she blurted out, pointing at me before her attorney could stop her. The judge lifted a hand. "Ms. Lawson," he said, addressing her, "do you have any evidence of undue influence beyond your belief?" Claire opened her mouth, closed it, opened it again. "She was there," she said, voice shaking. "She controlled everything." "That is not evidence," the judge said, and his tone was not cruel, just final. Then he addressed the no contest clause. He explained that continued litigation could trigger it, and that the court would consider fees shifting as outlined by the will. Claire's attorney leaned close to her and whispered something urgently. Claire's eyes widened. For the first time, I saw something like fear on her face. Not fear of losing Mom, but fear of consequences. After the hearing, Claire cornered me in the hallway, eyes wild. "You're enjoying this," she hissed. I looked at her, really looked, and felt nothing like enjoyment. I felt tired in my bones. "I'm grieving," I said quietly. "You're litigating." She flinched like I'd slapped her. Then she snapped, "You think you're so moral." "I think Mom deserved peace," I replied, "even after she died." Claire's lip trembled. She glanced around like she wanted an audience again. When there wasn't one, she turned and stormed away. 2 weeks later, her attorney withdrew. I found out through Denise, who called me and said, her counsel filed a motion to withdraw. Non-payment. Also, likely because he knows where this is going. I sat on my kitchen floor and laughed once, dry and disbelieving because of course Claire would start a war and then refuse to pay the people fighting it. Claire hired a second attorney. Cheaper, less aggressive, and suddenly the tone changed. Offers appeared. Mediation actually happened. Claire sat across from me at a conference table and looked smaller. Still angry, still defensive, but less theatrical. Her new attorney spoke gently, like someone handling a volatile animal. Denise laid out the reality. If Claire continued, she would lose, the clause would trigger, and her share could be reduced further to cover fees. If she stopped now, she could preserve what was left. Claire's jaw clenched. "So she wins," she said, staring at me like I was a thief. Denise didn't take the bait. "The will stands," she said. "This isn't about winning. It's about honoring the decedent's intent." Claire's eyes filled. For a second, I thought maybe we were finally reaching something real. Maybe she was actually grieving, actually feeling what she'd been avoiding. Then she said bitterly, "She loved you more." And there it was, the child in her, the old wound, the story she'd been telling herself for years to justify everything. That she was overlooked, that she was owed, that she deserved compensation for not being the center. Mom didn't love me more, I wanted to say. Mom just saw me. Mom saw what I did. Mom saw what you didn't do. But I didn't say it, because the courtroom wasn't going to heal that wound, and neither was I. Claire signed a settlement agreement that day. She withdrew the contest. The will would proceed. The estate's legal fees incurred due to the contest would be accounted for, and a portion attributable to the contest will be charged against Claire's share per the clause. It wasn't some dramatic judge laughed moment. It was paperwork and signatures and quiet humiliation. When a final accounting came months later, it was brutal in a way that felt both satisfying and heartbreaking. Claire's share was reduced by the legal fees tied to her challenge. Not mine, not the estate in general, specifically hers. The math didn't care about her feelings. The numbers reflected the damage she'd caused and assigned it back to her. When Denise called to tell me, I sat at my desk staring at a mug that still said, "World's Best Mom," because my kids had given it to me years ago when Mom was alive and gifting was still simple. "So it's done?" I asked. "It's done," Denise confirmed. "You'll receive your distribution once the final documents process." I should have felt triumphant. I thought I would. Instead, I felt hollow. Because Mom had built something, saved something, lived something, and a chunk of it had been eaten by lawyers because Claire couldn't tolerate not being centered. Claire didn't speak to me for months after that. She told family members I robbed her. She told anyone who would listen that the system was biased. She implied, in vague posts, that I had tricked Mom. People who didn't want to think too hard nodded along because it was easier than confronting a messy truth. Sometimes people don't get what they want because they didn't show up. The first time she contacted me again was on Mom's birthday. She texted, "I went by her grave." I stared at it for a long time. Then I replied, "Me too." She didn't respond. That was it. 2 simple sentences. No acquiescence. No money. Just the shared fact of absence and remembrance. We're not close now. I don't think we ever will be. I keep things polite. I keep them short. I don't share details. I don't let her pull me into arguments that go in circles. When she starts hinting about what Mom would have wanted, I remind myself that Mom literally wrote down what she wanted and recorded herself saying it. Sometimes, late at night, I still think about that drive home from Mr. Patel's office when Mom said, "Being a mother doesn't mean being blind." I used to hear it as sadness. Now I hear it as strength. Mom saw us both clearly. She loved us both. And she refused to let love erase reality. If you'd asked me before all this whether I wanted to be the executor, I would have said no. I would have said, I just want my mom back. I would have said, I don't want to fight. But if you ask me now whether I'm glad the will was ironclad, the honest answer is yes. Because it protected Mom's last act of agency from being shredded by someone who confuses entitlement with grief. Claire tried to contest the will because she thought she could bully the outcome into changing. She thought I'd fold. She thought guilt would work. She thought noise would win. Instead, the clause did what Mom designed it to do. It turned Claire's aggression into her own expense. The fees came out of her share because Mom, even in death, refused to let Claire burn everything down and call it love. And I hate that it had to be that way. But I don't hate that Mom planned for it.